Hello, hi, welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well, let's learn English together. Well, hello again to all of you gods of English. How are you all today? Is everything fine? Was your breakfast fantastic? Were your eggs and bacon heavenly? Was your coffee the sort of coffee that makes TV advertising seem amateur? Well, good. It's always good to hear good things about the lives of the gods of English. Okay, and here we all are again. Once again, you turned on your TV and found us in the same place, on M5, standing here, in the studio, beneath the bright lights and in front of the camera. Okay, we're here. The crew's all here. We're all ready. What about you? Well, you know what you all are, don't you? That's right. You and I both know that you viewers out there, you inhabitants of Hungarian TV land, you are gods of English. And that means many things. One of those many things is the fact that you gods of English, are always ready. So, gods of English, blue team, assemble and get ready. We're getting ready to start. And today we're starting with comparatives and superlatives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, now! Okay. OJ, time for something a little bit different. We'll leave Loretta for now while we have a look at some comparative adjectives. Okay, I know you all remember, but let's just check quickly that we all know what a comparative adjective is. Okay, we all remember the verb to compare. When we compare things, we look at them to see what is similar and what is different about them. When we go to a shop, we often compare prices. This sparkling wine is 2,250 forints, and this one is 2,890 forints. The second bottle of sparkling wine is more expensive. The second bottle is more expensive than the first. So, do you remember? We make the comparative form of short adjectives, adjectives with one syllable, by adding ER to the end of the adjective. Tall becomes taller. Short becomes shorter. Now, we also learned that if the adjective ends in vowel plus consonant, we double the last letter before adding ER to the end. Big becomes bigger, for example. If the adjective ends in Y, we replace the Y with IER. Happy becomes happier. Now, we also know that if the adjective has 2 or 3 or 4 syllables, then we don't add anything to the end of the adjective, but we put more in front of it to make the comparative form. Expensive becomes more expensive, not expensiver. All right. Now, we also learned that we often use a comparative adjective with than to connect two subjects. I am taller than him. He is shorter than me. Now, here's another way of connecting two subjects. Not as. Let me give you an example. I'm taller than Modi. Now, we know that we can say Muddy's shorter than I am, but we can also say Muddy's not as tall as me. Did you see what we did there? We made a comparison, but we used the adjective tall, not the comparative adjective taller. We made a comparison without the comparative adjective. Groovy. That's right. We said exactly the same thing, two different ways. This is expanding our English. We can say the same thing in two different ways. Fantastic. So, Muddy is not as tall as me is the same as saying that I am taller than Muddy, or that Muddy is smaller than me. So, we can say the same thing in three ways. Fab. So, let's complete the following sentences. Use all three ways. Two comparatives and not as. Canada, big, Hungary. Okay, let's do the first one together. Canada is bigger than Hungary. Hungary is smaller than Canada. Hungary is not as big as Canada. Okay, let's see the next one. Paris, expensive, Budapest. Okay, what do you all think? That's right. Paris is more expensive than Budapest. Budapest is cheaper than Paris. Budapest is not as expensive as Paris. Okay, let's see the next one, please. Gav, old, Muddy. Gav is older than Muddy. Muddy is younger than Gav. Muddy is not as old as Gav. Excellent. Now, one more for luck. An irregular adjective, please. Nico Rosberg. Good. Lewis Hamilton. Okay. What do you think? Nico Rosberg is better than Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton is worse than Nico Rosberg. Lewis Hamilton is not as good as Nico Rosberg. Great, fantastic, brilliant. That last one was very tricky, wasn't it? Still, the gods of English like a challenge, don't they? Damn right they do. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? Yes, you're right, it was fun. And the fun doesn't stop there. No, there's more. Okay, now have a look at the next set of three. Okay, so what can we say about these arrows? Well, the brown arrow is longer than the other two arrows. The green arrow is a little bit shorter than the brown arrow. The purple arrow is much shorter than the green arrow and the brown arrow. The brown arrow is a bit longer than the green arrow. The green arrow isn't as long as the brown arrow. The purple arrow isn't as long as the green arrow. Good. Now, are you ready for the next step? The next logical step? Of course you are. After all, you are gods of English, aren't you? So, onwards to glory, all of you gods on the sofa. Now, the next logical step is for us to look at the superlative. The what, Gav? The superlative. The who, Gav? No, the superlative. Let me explain. The superlative is the maximum form of an adjective. It's the highest form, so it's the next logical step. If we take an adjective, big, for example, then we know the comparative form, bigger. Now, we know that bigger is bigger than big. But what's the maximum? What comes after bigger? Well, that's the superlative. That's the next logical step. Look at these 3 giraffes. Now, ignore the gazelle on the left of the picture. The gazelle is not important. Okay, now when we look at the 3 giraffes, we can use our knowledge of English to compare them. We can say that the giraffe in the middle of the photo is bigger than the giraffe on the right of the photo and smaller than the giraffe on the left of the photo. We can also say that the giraffe on the right of the photo is not as tall as the other 2 giraffes. We can say that the giraffe on the left of the photo is taller or bigger than the other 2 giraffes. Great! Now, if we look at the giraffe on the left, we can also say that the giraffe on the left is the biggest. We can also say that the giraffe on the right is the smallest or shortest giraffe in the picture. So, big, tall, small and old are adjectives. Bigger, taller, smaller and older are the comparative forms of those adjectives. The biggest, the tallest, the smallest and the oldest are the superlative forms of those adjectives. All right now, we know that we make the comparative form of most adjectives by adding ER to the end of the adjective. We make the superlative form of most adjectives by adding EST to the end of the adjective. We also put the in front of a superlative adjective. It's the biggest, the tallest, the smallest, and the oldest. Okay, now let's look at the spelling changes for the superlative. We make the superlative for most adjectives by adding EST to the end of an adjective and putting the in front of it. Good. This way, old changes to the oldest, cheap changes to the cheapest, and soft changes to the softest. Okay, good. But what do you think we do if the adjective ends in E, like the adjective nice? Well, if the adjective ends in E, then we add ST to the end and put the in front of it. So nice becomes the nicest, and strange becomes the strangest. Great! Now, what do you think happens if the adjective ends in vowel plus consonant? That's right-a-doodle-doo. Just as we do with the comparative form, if the adjective ends in vowel plus consonant, the last letter doubles before we change the end. So big becomes the biggest, and hot becomes the hottest. Simple. Okay. Now what if the adjective ends in Y? Well, what did we do with the comparative form when the adjective ended in Y? Yes, right again. We dropped the Y and added ER, didn't we? And now, with the superlative, we drop the Y and add IEST, and then put the in front. Simple, pimple, wimple, and... No, I can't think of another word which rhymes with simple. And we're done. That's right, we're out of time. Our 15 minutes of fun is up, and it's time for the weekend to start. Okay, get out of your chairs, have another coffee, and let your weekend begin. I'll see you next week. See you later. Bye.